Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here reporting from Seatrade Global in Miami. I'm here with Bob Simpson, who is Vice President Expedition Cruising for Abercrombie Kent. Now, you may know Abercrombie Kent as a high-end luxury tour operator, but for years they've been offering luxury and expedition cruising as well. And of course, it's a hot category, and Bob fortunately knows all about it. We're going to talk to him about this and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Bob, we had lunch a few weeks ago, and we just started talking about expedition cruising.
That's right, in New York, absolutely.
Absolutely, and so I got to know you then and really saw how it's expanding so much. First of all, talk about what A&K, Abercrombie & Kent, offers in terms of luxury and expedition cruising.
Yeah, well, as you know, we've been operating for almost 3 decades. A lot of people don't realize that. Real quick, just background, we used to own and operate our own ship years ago. That gave us sort of the background of our experience and passion for the world of expedition cruising. We over the last 15 years, roughly, we've had a little bit of a change of our strategy. We're more strategic in terms of how we operate our programs, where we don't own and operate our own ship. So to be clear, we're not a cruise line. As opposed to a lot of our brothers here at Seatrade, we are an experiential operator. We very strategically select and charter what we feel are the right ships for the right places that we operate, both in terms of the background of our experience, but also the places that we know that our clients are looking for in terms of sort of the next place to travel.
So Antarctica has been one of those over the years, right?
Antarctica, certainly since 1991. Actually, 2021 is going to be our 30th year as a continuing operator. That makes us the second longest operating company in the Antarctic, so we have a long background of experience there. We continue to work, again, very strategically. We work with your friends at, Ponant, chartering the Le Lyrial, which is the platform that we use. Ponant provides us with that platform. We do everything else. So we put on our expedition team, our enrichment program, the 3 decades of experience in planning and sort of operating these programs in very remote and very, pristine, fragile areas as well.
Now, interesting enough, you are working with Ponant now, but you said owned your own ship for a beginning, and then you kind of evolved into working dramatically with Ponant. How did that process work?
The ship that we owned prior was called the Explorer, that you may remember. That was the original ship that really began what we now, and we will talk about, is this amazing growth in small expedition cruise sort of sector of the business. That was the beginning. That was the ship that started it all. In the early 2000s, we got to a point that the ship, the Explorer, by then was almost 30 years old, and as a company, we had to make a very strategic decision. If we continue to sort of own and operate, which would have meant an amazing amount of investment into the existing ship, if we go look for another ship, or if we get out of the ship owning and operating side of the business and focus on the operating side, where we have a little bit more of a flexibility to be able to select the right ships in the right places. We started working with Ponant in 2010, so we're going on a decade of a great working relationship.
And they've been expanding like crazy lately.
And exactly, and that actually has been mutually beneficial for us. So because as they've continued to expand and grow their fleet capacity, it's given us a great opportunity to continue to grow as well and to get into some areas that we have sort of a background and core competence in operating, or have operated, or looking at new destinations that we can sort of expand and grow and develop to satisfy the demands that our clients have. We have a huge high repeat traveler ratio, and so they're looking for sort of that next great place to travel with A&K.
Now, you've been going to Antarctica for all this time, but there are other places for luxury expedition cruising, right? And where else do you go?
So in the summer, we operate up in the Arctic. It's a great counter to the Antarctic operation that we have during our winter months in December and January. We've been operating up there equally for many, many decades. We continue to sort of grow our opportunity of itineraries and itinerary development. Next year, we're going to be doing a new itinerary. It's actually a combination of 3 itineraries. It's going to be our Grand Arctic Voyage. It's going to begin
Like a world cruise of the Arctic, right?
Exactly. It's an expanded experience through the best of the Arctic. So it'll be starting in Longyearbyen in Svalbard. So we'll spend some time up in Svalbard, a great polar bear experience. We'll come across to East Greenland, about as far as you can start navigating, and come down the coast in the program in the first cruise in Reykjavik. Second cruise will begin in Reykjavik, come back across to the coast of Greenland, and then do the southern end of the coast of Greenland, finishing in Kangerlussuaq on the west. And then the third cruise to end the Grand Arctic voyage will be the Northwest Passage. It'll start in Kangerlussuaq, cruise the full navigable length of the Canadian Arctic, finishing in the Bering Sea in Nome, Alaska. So our partners will have the opportunity to offer to their guests the opportunity to travel from Longyearbyen and Svalbard all the way to the Bering Sea in Nome, Alaska in one consecutive voyage. 46 days at sea. It can be sold in 1, 2, or 3 voyages in making one great expedition.
Well, that is one Arctic immersion, really, and that's amazing. It sounds like an amazing cruise, and if you're in your clients like that, and I think a lot of them will, it sounds like an amazing itinerary. I don't know anybody who's doing quite that same thing.
It will be completely unique. I don't think there's anyone else that, my recollection, has even offered that specific itinerary in the past.
Now, every expedition cruising, luxury expedition cruising seems to be all the rage these days. We have new players coming into the market. We have existing players just making more offerings. We have large cruise lines that are now going in or even creating their own dedicated expedition ships. What do you think? Why is this happening now?
Clearly, there's a very, very strong demand in this space. I think that the world is a vast place. I do think that there's room for all of us as companies and the different types of product. There are very, very different types of product at different levels. So I'm quite excited. I think that it shows a great level of demand out there, and I'm confident that demand will continue to grow. We're certainly seeing it. I know a lot of my colleagues here on the floor are seeing that as well. But not just that, the expedition cruise, but it's in some of these areas that using a small type of an expedition ship is actually quite valuable as well. And so, we're not just talking about the polar, region, sure. Certainly, and as a company and in our cooperation with Ponant as well, we've been able to, as they've grown their fleet to the smaller Explorer class vessels that I know you're very familiar with, it's given us the opportunity to get into some of these really cultural rich areas. In 2020, we're going to be launching a newly designed Baltic Cruise itinerary that's going to be a little bit different from the traditional cruise pattern. It's going to be a little bit more of a directional program. It'll start in Copenhagen, finish in St. Petersburg. But along the way, we'll have the time in the itinerary to be able to do multiple night stays in a number of places, such as Stockholm and Helsinki. And then by finishing in Helsinki, we're not just using in St. Petersburg. We're not just using St. Petersburg as a cruise port, right, where we have shore excursions. We're finishing there, and we'll have 3 nights at the end of the program at the Four Seasons Hotel, and we'll be able to do a fully proper St. Petersburg experience with private, venue openings, private access to the Hermitage Museum. Along the cruise route, we're going to have the opportunity in Gdansk to have a private meeting and briefing for our clients with Lech Walesa, who's the former president of Poland and the originator of the Solidarity movement in the Eastern Bloc countries. So it's going to be an amazing and unique itinerary that we're doing in July of 2020.
Well, Bob, thank you for filling us in. As again, expedition cruising is and if people think, oh, maybe there's too much, but to be honest with you, if you put all the expedition cruise ships that are being planned or whatever in one, I don't think you're going to even get to one Royal Caribbean ship. So
absolutely, that's a good point. Just the capacity alone, it puts it all into perspective. And there's a lot of great companies, and we're very, very excited about the prospects of the years to come.
Bob, again, thank you very much. We'll look forward to more from A&K. It sounds like you got some great itineraries planned with your partner, Ponant, and great to see you.
You too, James. Thanks.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.